We are live. Big East bracket breakdown. Say that 5 times fast and you get a free t-shirt. Just kidding. We are coming to you talking about, did the Big East get screwed in this tournament? We're going to break it down, talk through it with a few of our hosts and collaborators, and then we're actually going to pick a live bracket. The four of us are going to break down who we think is going to make it to the Final Four, who's going to be the eventual national champion. Maybe it'll be a Big East team, maybe it won't, but we're going to talk about it on the Big East Energy Network. Let's go. All right, welcome in. We got everybody. Let's get that Big East energy off of Patrick's face there. Let's go. We got Around the Horn. We got Patrick Madden, Andy Thompson, and of course the always popular Cap. Let's go from Xavier. Yeah, I'm Mark Zanetto. We wanted to do a live show today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I wish I did this last night, but I also kind of thought I wanted to give everybody kind of like a day and a half to kind of start to digest this bracket. I've already seen. We haven't talked about this pre-show. I've already seen a major development in one of the SEC teams when Aiden Holloway got arrested last night in Alabama. So if you're picking them to maybe beat Hofstra, maybe that's something that you want to discuss later in the program when we start on the bracket challenge. But let's go around the horn, and I'm actually going to go down and to my right and up all the way up. So first one I want to talk about is how the Big East was kind of, let's just call it what it is. They got screwed over, and I think it's mostly for me a bracket issue versus a seeding issue. But Andy, why don't you give me your thoughts, and then we'll go to Cap and Patrick, and we'll kind of chop it up a little bit here.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, we know, and you'll get into it more, that UConn was seeded as a 2 in the East region, and St. John's was seeded as a 5 in the East region, which naturally places them in San Diego because that just makes perfect sense. But the biggest thing for me was we were told in the selection committee when Keith Gill, the chair, was answering questions that Purdue's success in their conference tournament when they won it all moved them from a 3 to a 2. So we're being told that typically conference tournaments don't matter. In previous years, we've been told that, where like the SEC champion doesn't get moved up at all. Like it's the last tournament, they don't get treated differently. Well, we were told that Purdue was treated differently as a result of winning the conference tournament. Well, in order to win the conference tournament for the Big East, St. John's had to beat UConn a second time. They did it convincingly by 20 points. Mm-hmm. So if we're being told that Purdue moved up, was St. John's a lower 5 seed? Were they possibly a high 6 seed? Like, where did they move if they're still being a 5? I think they should be a 4 and perhaps not in the same region as St. John and as UConn, excuse me. I also went and looked at some net and wins above bubble stuff, and I'm really confused why a team like Kansas is a 4 seed when St. John's wins above bubble, even though there's some stuff you and I can get into you talked about. St. John's wins above bubble is 15th, 7.26. Kansas's is 6.25, 18. And you can talk about quadrant 1 records if you want to, but both those teams are 500. Kansas had 18 opportunities in the first quadrant. They won 9 of those games. St. John's had 10 opportunities in the first quadrant. They won 5 of those games. Kansas has a 7-1 record in the second quadrant. St. John's has an 11-0 record. And then obviously the Big East was down, if you want to say that. I think we both know at this point, whether you want to admit it or not. St. John's was 9-1 in Q3, Kansas 4-0. But, Kansas lost by 10 points on the road to Arizona State. They lost by almost 20 points at home to a Cincinnati team that just fired their coach. Cap's all over that, I'm sure. So the losses, yeah, you're celebrating. Jared Calhoun might get the job, so we'll see how the shootout goes next year. But some of the losses that Kansas has baked within those Q1 and Q2, like, yes, St. John's did blow a big lead in the Players era to an Auburn team that did not make a tournament at all with 16 losses. They did lose to Iowa State by a point. They did lose to that Kentucky team that's been hit or miss. And they lost to an Alabama team that now apparently has one of its main guards arrested, which I did not know prior to the show. So you're telling me for the first time. But if you're going to tell me that Purdue winning their conference tournament moved them up and they beat a 1 seed in Michigan, and then St. John's had to beat a 2 seed in UConn, plus their WAB is higher than the 4 seed Kansas, why is St. John's at least not out of the East region with UConn and at least the higher 5 seed that Vanderbilt is? Because, by the way, Vanderbilt lost their conference tournament as well. So I know it's a lot to say in a short period of time, but just that's some frustration I have where not only are they in the East region, but if Purdue winning theirs moves them up, why is St. John's not at least a higher 5 as a result of winning theirs?
Cap, you want to take that or
retweet?
I co-sign
Even the part
everything
about
that
Jared
Andy just
Calhoun?
said.
Well, you said we're going to see about the shootout. We will see about the shootout. There's a lot of history on our side here. I did look it up. Calhoun, no relation to Mark Zanetto's guys. I did look it up.
Jim Calhoun. No.
I don't like that name though, because that was a very successful name up in
It's a very successful name.
up in the Northeast. But
We can talk about Utah State later if you want to, by the way, because that's where he's at right now.
I would love.
Anyway,
that.
so moving back to this.
Since Cincinnati has a way of taking successful coaches and kind of changing their arc a little bit. But anyway, that's beside the point. I just had to take my opportunity. So guys, Andy just gave us a phenomenal breakdown. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you what I do, what Cap did. So I don't know if you guys are like me. I got the printer dusted off. I'd maybe use my printer a couple times a year. One time is this time of the year. Forgot to change it to landscape. If you want to take a look at my printer. So that's kind of where I'm at currently. That's my mental state. My bracket that looks like that. No, but I honestly co-sign everything. I thought that what they did in the Big East tournament, I mean, to win the Big East again, to win the Big East tournament again, and to honestly too, I mean, that win is just has to be a really quality win. I mean, the way they beat UConn, honestly, shellacked UConn, who I was worried it was going to be the opposite of that. I was worried it was going to be a UConn shellacking of St. John's, which I thought would have been the worst thing for the league. And then also there's a Seton Hall, and not only did Seton Hall get omitted, it just seems like they weren't even close.
Considered.
Yeah. So I think that is tough. And I think the league did a good job of, being a league that just devoured each other, once again, not having that second tier that we really needed, having no bad teams, but a bunch of teams in that couldn't get into that second tier that we need to get those 7, 8, 9, 10 seeds. So I think that was a bit of the breakdown, but we need to get that together as a league for sure.
What do you think, Patrick?
I hate to. Andy loves numbers. Obviously, the tournament committee has fallen in love with numbers and metrics and all that other stuff. Back in the day, I think if I'm talking, let's say in the 90s or even the 80s, had St. John's won the Big East tournament, they definitely would have been in this scenario where they're at, they definitely would have been a 3 or 4 seed.
Sure.
Because we use metrics, because we use WAB. One other counter to the Purdue argument about Purdue moving up is Purdue also beat Nebraska and UCLA, who are 2 teams that are going to be in the tournament. Whereas St. John, the only team St. John's has beaten that are in the NCAA tournament of their entire schedule are Villanova and Connecticut. So One thing the committee has, and this is something they talked about 2 years ago. This is something they've talked about for the last few years, is that beating teams in the tournament means something. Purdue did that. Kansas did that. St. John's, due to circumstances, did not do that. So I think unfortunately, they're married to these numbers now. Now you bring in, the Sheets have the WAB, the Sheets have the Torvik, the Sheets have the net. They have all the numbers, and Dan Gavitt, who of course is running the selection, is running the tournament, loves numbers. Say what you want about Dan Gavitt, Big East legacy, but some of the stuff that he's put into tournament selection has done some damage to the Big East, because the Big East, for some reason, has not figured out this metrics game yet. And they've fallen behind the Big 12, the Big 10, and the power conferences in that sense. Some of it's their fault, some of it's not their fault.
Yeah, I think to your point, I do think that there needs to be some collaboration. If we're just specifically talking about the Big East, I mean, I don't know if you saw this, and I typically don't listen to too many interviews that Jason Whitlock does, but I had Frank Martin was on his show talking about the SEC essentially got together after they only got 4 teams in the year that he went to the Final Four. I think they were a 2 seed then. Essentially saying like, there's no way we should only have 4 teams in. So the Big East needs to have one of those secret society meetings that Frank Martin was talking about, and actually talk about how we schedule, who we schedule. People get mad at me all the time when I say things like there's no value in today's game, and it's what kills college basketball. What I'm going to say is not something I like, but it's just the reality of it. If you want the Big East to have many quad 1 opportunities outside of conference and hopefully inside of conference, it's the perception stuff. Like Villanova is a great example. You can't play these, what was like the
Big Five.
The Big Five. Thank you. I was stumbling on that. Like you can't play Penn, you can't play Temple, and you can't I just sometimes you lost those games when Neptune was there. I don't think you're going to lose those games with Willard as a coach, but there's a reason why no one wants to play Miami of Ohio, is because they're too good. You don't get anything out of it.
Yep.
And if you lose, the perception of that loss is so bad, even though people like us who follow college basketball know that if you lose to a 30-win Miami team, that's not a fucking bad loss. It's just not. There's a difference between a perception loss and what I like to call a loss that's inconsequential. Like, no one wants to get the John Rothstein epitome of brutality stuff, because I'm telling you, he's done such a disservice to mid majors and low majors by placing that moniker on high majors. Because look, you think Boston College should lose to Central Connecticut? No, but in their current state and what they pay for NIL, it's an even fight. It wasn't an even fight 10 years ago, to Patrick's point, because of the way things are. But like, and BC shouldn't lose to Central. But guess what? When Central has a coach like Patrick Sellers, and they got a couple of dudes on their team, and BC has the same amount of NIL as a team like High Point in the CAA, you're probably going to lose some of those games. And that's just not something that you can explain to a fan base. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go, well, we don't pay our players as much as other ACC schools. Like, it's just, they're not going to admit that, but I know it's true. It's just the reality. So to me, like, what do you think is worse? The point that Patrick made about back in the day, because I said the same thing to Cap earlier on another call, that I remember, I think it was 06 or 05. It was the year before that 06 loss for UConn to George Mason, but they lost as a 2 seed to NC State, and they had won the Big East tournament that year. At least that's my recollection of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but my recollection of it is I thought they were going to be like a 3 or a 4, and they win the Big East tournament, and all of a sudden they pop up as a 2 on selection in the selection. That was like 20 something years ago. So like, that kind of stuff happened back then, and the selection committee looked at that stuff. They don't look at that stuff anymore. Do you like it the way it is now, or would you prefer to go back to these conference tournaments matter, and essentially like how you're playing in the last 10 games matters? Because I think there's a lot of people that still have that same mentality of, hey, the last 10 games, St. John's won 19 of 20. They're on a roll, but they also are playing Big East schools. So there's kind of like a push-pull there. What are your thoughts? Patrick, I want to go back to you first, and then we'll go back around.
I think that, again, you're talking about, unfortunately, the people who have the loudest voices in the room are people like Greg Sankey, Brent Yormark, Jim Phillips at the ACC.
Petiti at the Big Ten.
Who have Tony Politi, right?
Petiti.
Those are the loudest voices in the room. Or the athletic directors who are representing them in the selection committee, and they want to see their conference, the teams in their conferences, in the Sweet 16, in the Final Four. Last year's tournament, at least the Sweet 16 and the Final Four, was no accident. You know, when you had 2 SEC teams in it, and then they had a Big 12 team and an ACC. That is where the big-time commissioners want things to go. You've seen that in the way they set up the football playoff. They want to see the basketball, the NCAA tournament, look like the football playoff in that sense. So if these metrics and the way things are going now is keeping things in that direction, and the fact that each of those big conferences is getting 9, 10, 11 teams in the tournament, you're not going to see a major change anytime soon on that front.
Okay. Cap?
Yeah, I feel like the regular season should be equally weighted. I mean, especially if you're going to give these non-power teams a chance to compete. Like, if you're going to give Miami a chance, you got to count these regular season games. I mean, I think it should all be weighted. Why play the regular season if you're not going to count it as much, in my opinion? I understand that it might not be as indicative of who's playing their best ball at the best time, but all the games got to count the same, in my opinion.
Andy?
Oh, for sure. I think it should be weighted. And the only time we've seen it weighted recently is when Bubba Cunningham was chairing the selection committee for his own North Carolina Tar Heels last year. Because obviously, what have you done for me lately? They'd won a lot of their games, even though they only had one quadrant one win. So that mattered for him last year. But no, overall, I do think the regular season should be weighted. And obviously, like St. John's, being 25-6 in the first 3 quadrants, if we're going to set it up that way. Kansas was 20-10 in the first 3 quadrants. And obviously, the Big East is going to give you more Q3 opportunities. So Kansas played more Q4s in their bye games. But, if you're going to go 11-0 in Q2, then I think that should be weighted. And a lot of those Q2 games were their backloaded schedule because they played UConn. I mean, obviously UConn isn't a Q2, we know that. But like they played a pretty backloaded schedule, and then a lot of those neutral games ended up being Q2 for them in the tournament with Seton Hall and Providence. So I just think, if we're going to say, the regular season matters, and then what have you done for me lately? Like St. John's, on BartTorvik.com, they've been a top 3 team in the country since losing to UConn that one night and getting shellacked and scoring 40 points and being the lowest Rick Pitino scoring team ever. They're top 3 in Bart Torvik ever since that game. So if you're going to say, what have you done for me lately? St. John's is operating as literally one of the best teams in the country. And the fact that we're not, we're discounting that and having them be a mid-level 5 seed to me just feels wrong.
Yeah, but also I'm going to say this, and I'm not shitting on Bart Torvik. I think all of the metrics matter. But I also do think basketball matters, and throwing up the ball and actually playing. But like Cap's favorite team, the Cincinnati Bearcats, were like top 6 in the country in Bart Torvik for like a 6 or 12 week stretch, including that 20-point win at Kansas. So you can always make the metrics during times of the year make it look good. That's why the totality is where I'm at. Like you can't tell me that Cincinnati was as good a team as Kansas throughout the whole year, but they did beat them that one time when they were playing their best, right? So I think we have to take that into account. And then the other thing I was going to say is, look, I railed on this last year. We all, the 4 of us, weren't together on this stuff last year, so I will ask you guys this question now: why is it that the NCAA selection committee, those who get pick the teams that make it, are other conference commissioners that have a vested interest in their own conference? And even when they recuse themselves, like what did Gill say that when there's a team, or I think Bubba Cunningham said that last year, like he recused himself when they were talking about North Carolina. Okay. Also,
but you left some notes for him.
But even if he does recuse himself, it's kind of like being in. I'm not an attorney, but if you ever been in a court of law when an attorney wants to get something in to the jury to hear and says something outlandish, and the judge says, "Jurors, let's strike that," but they still heard it. Like that still goes through your.
You
brain.
can't unring the bell.
You can't unring the bell. It's a great way to put it, because like once you hear the awful things that my defendant did, even if it's struck from the record, they're still going to talk about it in the juror room when they're laying down the guilty or not guilty. So my point is like these guys shouldn't be anywhere near a selection committee. There should be the Rocco Millers of the world. Maybe Joe Lenardi doesn't get a pass, but the guys who do really well in the bracket, Norlander should be on there. But even a guy like Matt Norlander, who I like, and Matt's a great guy, and he's a great writer, and he's the president of the organization that we're in, the USBWA. But I don't think he should be on it either. I want guys who literally live and breathe bracketology. That's it. That's their only job, and they get it right.
Here's the problem with that, Mark.
What's the problem with that, Pat?
The bracket. The one I wanted to say, the bracketologists like Rocco only are trying to guess what the people in the room are doing. They're not setting their own ideal bracket. The one guy.
Hold on, time out. I get what you're saying.
The one guy who does sets an ideal bracket is a guy named Eric Haslam.
Okay, fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. I know Haslametrics. He's also a great source of information. There should be a specific criteria that is placed on something that is so important to so many people when it comes to filling out brackets, getting it right, getting the right teams in, versus getting your buddy's friends in because he's going to be the committee chair next year and you want to make him happy. Like all of that is human nature stuff, and we need to get that out of the game. Like it just is. Stop giving Bubba Cunningham favors, whoever. I don't even know who the fucking commissioner was this year, but I guarantee you that there are deals made, and I just don't trust it. I just don't trust how they put together these brackets. And they do a decent job, but there's always these little weird, like, okay, listen, Miami of Ohio should not be in the play-in game. I'm sorry. They just shouldn't. That is an absolute travesty for a team that won 31 straight games. Like, are you effing kidding me? They had one mistake, and you're going to put them in a play-in game? So they're not even really in the tournament yet. Like, it's stupid. It makes
31-1.
It defies logic that you would even have a conversation about them being in the last 4. That's where I have an issue with metrics guys only. You got to have some basketball people in there that are like, listen, the people that actually, I don't know, not the loudest guys in the room, like Greg Sankey, like Brett Yormark, who are driven by this. They're driven by money. They're not driven by like the SEC is going to be good and the Big 12 is going to be good. They're like, how much more money can I make? There's a reason why the Big 12 did the LED core. They didn't do it to be cool. They did it because they wanted to make more money, to get more interest, get more impressions, all of that. So it just is what it is. That's my thought on that.
I know. I did look real quick. The leader of the commission, the commission chair this year was Keith Gill, who's the commissioner of Sunbelt.
Yep. And honestly, I don't mind that because it's a small major school or small conference. But listen, they all have their own interest, and it's really what I don't think Eric Haslam is going to be. If let's say we promote him, Patrick brought him up, so let's say he's the czar now. And then he picks his minions of bracketologists that are going to help him pick this out. I don't want any coaches. I don't maybe like a coaching advisor, but that's it. But to kind of give them just so it's maybe Cap and I are dealing with this on another project where sometimes people who are in metrics and development world are pretty literal. So maybe you need a guy to kind of show them that's probably not what we mean here. But at the same time, outside of that, you just need people to get it right. That's all. And that'd be my only criticism is I just don't think that the way that they've done it for years is what they should be doing in the future.
Yeah.
Anywho, all right, guys, let's make some picks. What do you think?
You guys want to real quick? Do you guys want to talk Villanova on the 8-9 line, or are you guys fine with that? I didn't know because you want to talk the entire Big East. I didn't know if it was just the St. John's UConn thing.
No, talk St. John, talk Villanova. I don't want to get Matt Janis pissed at us. Come on now.
Let me make a quick point about
the voice of
Villanova.
God.
I think Eric Hodge meant something. I mean, not Eric Hodge. I have a friend named Eric Hodge. Matthew Hodge.
Yep.
I think Matthew Hodge meant something because I think that, although they played well against Butler and Xavier, DePaul and Xavier that week after Hodge went down, I think that game against Georgetown, that's the last impression that they made to the committee, if the committee was watching. And it happened on Thursday night. So I think stuff that happens earlier in the tournaments because the committee's not locking teams into the bracket at that point may have meant something because they were borderline between 6, 7, and 8 most of the month of February. So Hodge goes down. They play that miserable game against Georgetown on Thursday. I think that was the final impression, and it gave the committee a justification to drop them to the 8th seed.
Yeah, for sure. And they were out rebounded 21-6 in that second half. It was tied 19 boards each at the half, and then Villanova finished with 40, Georgetown gets 25, and Matt Hodge obviously a huge part of that front court. When let's be honest, in the preseason, the question I was asking, we don't have Matt Janis on, but the question I was asking was, can Villanova get a rebound? There just weren't enough people in the front court, and with Matt Hodge gone, you're right. The last impression you've got is just being dominated by Georgetown on the glass. I can see why they were moved down, but man, that Utah State matchup, we can break that down soon. That's a tough one.
All right. Yeah. No, listen. I think Villanova had a year that they overachieved, and I think really if they get a win, and we're going to get to them when we do our picks here in a second. If they get a win, at least one win in the NCAA tournament, which I don't think they're going to get two because I don't think they're going to beat Arizona. But if they can get one win, I think it's a huge success for Villanova's going into next season. So, but I think you're right, Patrick. I think that loss is kind of what hurt them. All right, let's get into it, and let's talk about the East region first because I think that's been the most talked about. It's like the region of death, essentially. How many Hall of Fame coaches, how many national championships are in this bracket is wild. So let me share my screen here in a second, and then let's give the people what they want, man. Let's get into it. All right, you guys tell me we're good, and I'll start setting this up. Ready?
All good to go.
Ready.
All right. I think consensus is Duke is going to beat Siena, right? I know Jerry McNamara is not playing; he's coaching. But I think you need Jerry Mack to don the Siena jersey to have a chance against this Duke team. Thoughts?
That for him, this is going to feel like a repeat of that DePaul game from 20 years ago, where he finished the game crying. Duke over Siena for me.
Everybody, you agree with that?
I don't need to talk about the 116s. We're good.
All right, Patrick, you good?
Yep.
All right. This is a matchup that I'm very excited to watch. And it looks like it's the first game of the tournament, right? Is that 12:15 on Thursday? Ohio State TCU. I am I defer to my basketball advisor friend in Ryan Boatwright, who knows a thing or two about carrying teams to national championships and talking about guard play. I don't know who I like on this, but I like Thornton for Ohio State, and I'm leaning that way. I could be swayed. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. Round the horn. Who wants to go?
I'll say that Jamie Dixon is coaching TCU, and people who know the Big East from 15, 20 years ago know how good a coach Jamie Dixon is against the Ohio State. I don't even remember who the Ohio State guy is off the top of my head. The young guy,
Jake Diebler. Don't worry. I know all about Ohio State as a result of our current coaching situation.
Yes, that is true. One of Holtman's old assistants took over the job, and the way they played down the stretch of the season just tells me that TCU's playing well. Ohio State's going down. I like TCU for that reason.
Do we agree?
TCU.
Wow.
All right,
Andy.
I appear to be in the minority here, but I'm going to say that I've got the fighting Jake Diebler is picking down Jamie Dixon. The reason I say that, Bruce Thornton is the least appreciated player in the country. He is he is Ohio State's all-time leading scorer. He could have transferred out, gone to a better situation when things weren't quite working for Jake Diebler, but he stuck it out. Now they've got, Evan Mobley's playing well for them. They've got this Tilly guy, the center from Santa Clara. And I just, it's been a while since the team's really been Diebler. Back in the first, when he was the interim, they got Purdue immediately. They beat some other teams that they Dieblered Izzo a little bit. But it's been a while since somebody's gotten the full Jake Diebler treatment. And I think, Bruce Thornton's going to be motivated. This is his first ever NCAA tournament game in his 5 seasons at Ohio State. I think he's going to be motivated for this game, want to prove that, hey, we belong after people in early February were saying, is Ohio State even going to make it? What have you done for me lately? I think Ohio State's the best example of that. I thought they'd be a 9 or a 10 seed. For them to be an 8 speaks to the quality of play they've been playing lately. So give me Jake Diebler and Bruce Thornton to get it done.
So, Mark, we need to set a precedent here because there's an even number of us.
I know.
We've got 2 and 2. I just downloaded an app called the Flip a Coin app. Would you?
That's fine. Can you give me 1 second? I want 1 second on this. I'm in total agreement with Andy, and I'm not overriding anybody here. But I did just text Ryan Boatwright, and I said Ohio State or TCU, make a pick. I want to see if he can be our.
We can table this game and then go forward.
We could. Let's go on to the next spot. We'll just keep that as a because I want to. If he's available, if he's, I don't think he's going to jump on, but if he's available to just kind of give us.
I'm more than happy to let Ryan Boatwright decide that tie.
Yeah, I just think that's a fair way. So hold on. If not,
a few tournament games.
Yes. If not, we will go to the the Flip a Coin app. Okay. So all right, this is right up our alley here. St. John's again.
This one should be easy.
Northern Iowa.
Easy how, Andy?
Be tough.
Easy in what respect? Who's winning or
St. John's? St. John's.
Okay. Yeah, I think St. John's.
Northern Iowa presents an interesting defense for St. John's for sure. Watching them get my friends USC Flames was rather alarming with how easily they were able to dispatch them. But give me St. John's. Zuby's going to overpower them.
Everybody else? I agree.
And Northern Iowa's been an upset candidate in many
It's a
years
5-12.
past.
It's a 5-12 game. Happens
Northern
every
Iowa.
year.
But how can we go against St. John's on the Big East Energy Network?
I don't think we can, but I just want everyone to understand that every time there's a 5-12 matchup, it's the biggest candidate just through history. Like, lately a little more 13-4, but 5-12 has really kind of been the spot.
Can I ask a random question before we keep going forward?
Sure.
Do you guys think we revert back to the mean this year as far as upsets? Do you think it's going to be the same narrative?
Yes.
Okay.
I do too.
Aiden Holloway is going to help with that, but yes.
Okay. I agree.
Yep, I agree. Patrick, St. John's?
Yeah, we can move on to the Kansas game.
All right, Kansas, Cal Baptist. What do we think?
Is Darren Peterson going to play? Is Darren Peterson going to give his all?
God, we don't have time for that, Patrick. We don't have time for that.
I mean, those are the 2 questions. I mean,
you want me to use the coin flip app?
No.
Is Darren Peterson going to play? Use the coin flip app. That's a great idea.
That's the guy. I mean, they should have enough to beat Cal Baptist, but then we get to how Kansas goes, has Darren Peterson goes.
Okay, give me Kansas.
Who knows how Darren Peterson goes?
Kansas.
Cal Baptist, and we can,
Patrick, you sound like you're swaying Cal Baptist here. I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
I think it's 3-1 anyway.
Kansas is always upset prone.
This is a Catholic conference, Pat.
What was that?
Yeah.
No Baptist stuff around
here.
No
Baptist in the Catholic conference. That's right. Kansas for the win.
Let's see how we feel about BYU later, given that stance.
Oh,
that's
maybe.
true. That's very true. I'm going to say it right now. Louisville, South Florida. I'm going South Florida.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Yep. Brian Hodgson, his dad with dementia, is going to be able to watch him coach for the first time. They are not losing that game with apologies to Mike Brown.
Former Xavier Musketeer, Pat Kelsey. See ya.
Okay, I'm not going to take Louisville and blow your momentum here. So,
well, no, you can't. But the majority is gonna go with South Florida. But if you think Louisville's gonna win, make sure you have that.
Yeah, I mean, South Florida's played really well. I just think that Louisville's got. I mean, look, good old Ryan Conway.
That's true.
Louisville, you know,
Former Xavier Musketeer.
Ryan Conway if Ryan Conway goes off, Louisville could even pull an upset against Michigan State.
You're just a Wes Enos doubter.
What was that?
You're just a Wes Enos doubter.
Maybe I you know what? You just spit out a name I don't even know, Andy. So,
get ready to learn Wes Enos, Patrick.
Yep.
I'm a South Florida guy. All right, I'll keep that in mind, Andy. Thanks.
Okay.
I will take Louisville because I like Kelsey. I like Conway.
All right, fair enough. Michigan State, North Dakota State. I don't even think there really is I don't think there's even a argument for North Dakota State other than they could maybe shoot 90% from three, and I don't think that's going to happen against Michigan State, who plays really good defense. So I'm going Michigan State, and I don't think there's really going to be an argument. Agreed?
January, February, Izzo.
Oh, shut up with that. That's maybe the dumbest saying in the history of time.
But the Big Ten has not won a national championship since 2000. It does end in March, so we'll take them here.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Thank you.
You love a Rothsteinism, Mark. I know you do.
Oh, he's the worst.
The Carpenter.
Yeah, the Carpenter. My favorite one from him recently is Silas the Virus. It's like, dude, who the hell wants to be named?
And then he threw up at DePaul.
Out of here.
And then he threw up at DePaul.
Yeah. What a dork.
We love Rothstein.
All right. UCLA, USF. This one, I really like this matchup. What are your thoughts? I could go either way, but I have reasons for either side to win.
UCF.
You got UCF? Okay.
I'm going UCF. What do you got, Cap?
You think I'm going against seeing Mick Cronin versus Dan Hurley in the second round? Are you kidding me?
True.
Yeah,
Mick all day.
I need that matchup.
Need it.
Make them do the press conference together no matter who loses.
Oh, God.
That would be awesome. Make them ask each other questions.
I want to see the over-under on coach technicals in UCLA, UConn, but that's beside the point. We'll get there when we get there.
I mean, are we talking real technicals or bullshit Big East technicals? Stomp your foot.
Good question.
Well, let's do a coin flip. Will James Breeding have the game?
Oh God! Do you want me to be on suicide watch for that game, or do you want me to actually enjoy?
Well, then let's add Brian O'Connell for good measure.
Oh my!
And Matt Potter. Why not? Just throw them all in there.
Potter. Oh.
Love it here.
And then we'll just have Jeff Anderson run him the sidelines for good measure. He won't even be a part of the game.
Give me TV Teddy Valentine. Why not? Let's just get every antagonist on that.
Okay, give me UCF.
UCF. Cap, who you got? UCLA?
UCLA, baby.
Patrick, who you got?
I'm taking UCLA because of Donovan Dent. I think Dent is on a roll.
Yeah,
I think Dent is the type of guy who can put. Dent was really good for New Mexico last year. I think that he carries UCLA past a very good Central Florida team. Johnny,
yeah, I'm Andy. I hate to do it, man, but I'm with them. I could see UCF winning because they're big in every position, and they actually do have some really good positional size at guard that could bother Donovan Dent.
Amos Falks, yep.
But I do think what I've heard from them is that Paul Thibodeau, or is that his name? Thibodeau? He's their power forward that's really good. Peter or something I can't think of his last name. I watched them play a ton this year, and he always gets mid-range buckets. And if he plays and they say he's healthy, I think that kind of makes a difference. I think he's going to give them fits. UConn Furman. Look, I know UConn's going to win this game, but I want UConn fans to understand this if you're watching it. The SoCon is not a mid-major conference that you should just kind of go, they suck. They're just going to win this game by 50. This Furman team is really well coached. Bob Ritchie beat Villanova when he had a really good team. Was it 2018? He's been there for a while.
Recently.
Yep, they beat Virginia more recently. They're a team that does not scare easily.
Wilkins is a really good point guard. Really good point guard. Silas has his hands full.
I'm just saying, they're gonna be in this game for quite a bit, especially with the way UConn plays. They're not a big team, so that helps UConn. Maybe Terrace can keep himself out of foul trouble and dominate. But if there's any type of issues in this game hangs around, if that's a 20.5 point spread like I've seen, It's not a bad play to pick Furman with the points and then see if UConn can hang on. But I think UConn wins this game by double digits eventually. But it's not going to be easy. I can tell you that right now. Just having covered this SoCon for so long, that's a good conference, and there's some good players and good coaches. Bob Ritchie's the last holdover from the last kind of iteration of the, West went to Cincy, Forbes went to Wake Forest, and Mike Young at Virginia Tech was at Wofford. So good conference, good coaches. Just watch out for the Fighting Paladins of Furman. Ryan is writing back right now, so we're going to get our answer on Ohio State TCU. So hold tight for me there before we.
Patrick and Cap are about to get deep look.
I think he's going to go Ohio State too because of Bruce Thornton. That's just my opinion. In fact, I'm actually going to preempt it and click there. I will switch it back if Ryan texts me back TCU and gives me a reason why. Okay. I think either way, whether Duke plays Ohio State or TCU, it's going to be a tough game for them because of their injury history. But if we're going, obviously I think Duke wins the game. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Duke wins whoever they play next.
Yeah. Agree. And by the way, he picked Ohio State. So I was right. But he also just admittedly said he hasn't seen a lot of TCU lately. So just with a grain of salt, he's picking Ohio State. Bruce Thornton is the tip of the iceberg.
Well, if you want to preview TCU for them, tell them they've lost to New Orleans and they've beaten Iowa State.
Oh yeah, they're a mess. They're all over the place. And listen, I'm not here to critique coaching what they wear, but dude, can someone tell Jamie Dixon that he looks like a skunk out there, dude? Like I have great hair, dude. Like just I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Pepe Le Pew.
Can he visit Mike Krzyzewski's stylist and get him some black hair in his late 60s?
Even when he was at Pitt, Jamie Dixon always wanted to make sure he looked good. He doesn't. He was sort of trying to be Jay Wright.
I get it.
From the Big East. So I mean, Jamie Dixon thinks he takes his look seriously. So
I don't know.
Make for that what it's worth.
The rare anti-Widows peak. You don't get
it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Every time I listen, if my wife is in the room, she always goes, "Oh God, what is that?" Like it's like the funniest thing. It's like such a visceral reaction. It makes me laugh. All right, so Duke's going to win that game no matter what. This is the big one in this bracket to me, the St. John's Kansas one. I want to pick St. John's, but I'm picking Kansas because I just don't. If that Kansas said UConn on it, St. John's is going to win this game by 20 because they get up for those UConn games. I just don't love them against teams not named UConn or Villanova.
You're missing something, Mark, and that's the Zuby Ejiofor revenge game. Remember, Ejiofor was recruited by Bill Self. He got sat in the bench by Bill Self. He didn't think he was going anywhere because of Bill Self. And now
let's play the Bill Self drinking game. How about that? Just every time ESPN's got a big Monday game, they just say Bill Self every 2 seconds. And Patrick's doing
all those games though, but that's a different point. Point is, Zuby Ejiofor is going to want this game, and because Zuby Ejiofor will depending on what Peterson shows up, Zuby Ejiofor is arguably the second best player on the court in the St. John's Kansas game. And when Zuby wants something, Zuby usually gets it. So I'm going to ride Ejiofor to get some revenge on his old school.
Do you know how I know Patrick is from New Jersey is because he sounds like every Giants fan who has a reason why they're going to win their next game because of something that happened in the past.
But I think there's legs to this one though.
There might be, but I just feel like for me, it's like one of those things where it's like, I really wanted UConn to win last weekend and they didn't. So, cause they could have gotten some revenge on St. John's from last year. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, I get that. I get the personal aspect of it, but I think you're also missing that Flory Badinga is as physical as Zuby and can match that physicality. And I just, Bill Self is a tough out.
Terrace Reed, Mark, and look.
I don't think they're in the same ballpark, dude. Terrace Reed is a little kitty cat compared to the way Flory Badinga plays. I'm being honest, dude. Like I'm donning all UConn shit. I have no problem talking about how soft Terrace plays against Zuby. I'll just be honest with you. He regresses when a guy gets in his kitchen, and that's a whole other story for another day. I never have said that. Oh man, we can match with Zuby 1-on-1. That's just not. In fact, I said if we had Zuby, we'd be undefeated. Like if you traded those two, I don't think there's anybody that could beat UConn if you had Zuby Ejiofor on the team.
All right, I'm going to ask this quick question about Kansas. I'm going to have to hop off in a little bit here. And Mark, I'll text you my picks. I got to get off my lunch break in a couple moments. But I'm going to ask you this question. So we talk about Zuby versus Flory. Okay, fine. Bryson Tiller or Dylan Mitchell? Who are you taking? Because that's the next front court option for Kansas after Flory Badunga. So when Flory isn't playing, Dylan Mitchell or Bryson Tiller? Who do you take?
I take Bryson. I think he take Bryson. He's 6'11". He can step outside and shoot the three, and Dylan's got a little more positional versatility to kind of assist the ball. But you can almost dork Dylan Mitchell with Bryson Tillery and say, okay, shoot the three, whatever. But I think Dylan is easily negated when you have an athlete like Bryson Tillery, and we clearly don't have that kind of athlete on our team, and that's the reason why St. John's matches up so well against us.
Yeah.
All right, we haven't even talked about Bryce Hopkins yet, and then the next guy they're trotting out is Paul Mbaya, who is a 7-footer, barely plays. I don't know. I think the front court depth and attack of St. John's can wear out Kansas throughout the game, and it's going to make Darren Peterson do a lot. I think this is going to be a game that if Darren Peterson goes for 30, he goes for 30. But I just think this is going to be a game that's decided by the play of Darren Peterson and Melvin Council, because the front court of Kansas is not going to be able to get the easy looks they want to. Because when Koa Pete was out for Arizona, the 7-footer wasn't able to handle Flory by himself. Zuby's not going to be by himself with Flory. He's going to have Bryce and Dylan to help him out. I think the front court depth just wears him out in a 40-minute game.
Maybe, and I think those are all well stated facts. I think for me the only thing I look at is there's such a big shift of how much better Kansas's backcourt is if Darren Peterson plays than St. John's from that perspective. Even from a size perspective, like, do you think Dylan Darling's gonna be able to handle anybody that's on Kansas's team? No, it's not even a question. Isaiah Sellers is a good player, but he's not on the level of Melvin Council. He's a better shooter, but he's not an overall better player. So I think I don't know, man. Like that. This is why it's a 5-4 game. I think you can go either way. Let's make our picks. Andy, who you got?
Give me St. John's.
Okay.
Johnny's.
Patrick.
St. John's.
All right. I'll be the lone wolf, and we'll put St. John's up there, and I'll just mock all of you guys when Kansas beats them, but that's okay. I'll make sure I tag you in all my tweets.
If Kansas gets to the game.
Don't worry. All three of us will simultaneously clip this if you're wrong. Just know that.
That's fine. Listen, I want to do a show called Happy to Be Wrong, and then just have it all be clips of us saying things that didn't happen.
Will Seth Davis be on it?
Yes, he will be on it. He's actually the star of the show. We're in talks. South Florida, Michigan State.
Michigan State.
South Florida.
Too much coaching.
Yeah, we're overriding you, Andy. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. This is my big upset pick of South Florida the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, UCLA, UConn. Let's see what you sons of bitches think.
I think UConn beats whoever they play in the round of 32. UCF is a tougher matchup. I think they beat whoever they play.
Yep.
UConn.
No way McClellan wins 2 games.
But this would be a banger, an all-time banger.
I agree. I do. It does scare me a little bit if Silas is hobbled with his ankle, even though X-rays and MRIs have come back okay. So if he's a little hobbly against Donovan Dent, that could pose some problems. Let's go all the way back to the top. Duke St. John's in another potential banger. Cap, thoughts?
Norlander took St. John's.
Okay.
I'm doing the same.
Yeah, let's go.
I think
I'm doing the same only because I'm going to use the last 2 Duke games to back this up. Ugana on Yenso ate them alive. And Zuby's been on a tear where he's had 5-6 blocks in a lot of games. I think Zuby's going to be able to do the same kind of things to them that Yenso did. And even if they haven't Gungba healthy, he gets into foul trouble a lot. If you don't have Caleb Foster, you're going to run a lot of stuff with Cam Boozer and Caden Boozer, and they don't do the best in ISO ball down the stretch. We've seen that over the last couple of years. Mark, you've written about that. So I think St. John's, if Duke isn't healthy, give me St. John's here.
Patrick.
And I don't think they will be because Caleb Foster's going to be out.
Yeah, I'm with Andy on that one. I think that losing Caleb Foster turned them from a top-level championship contender to a team that's vulnerable in the Sweet 16, and St. John's is a team no one wants to see in their bracket.
I am going to agree with you guys and pick St. John's. So we have a consensus there.
So you didn't think St. John's could beat Kansas. You already had them out, but now they're going to the Elite Eight.
Yep. That's how this works. Isn't that great?
I love it.
Isn't that a great? That's like the second chance at life, bro. That's like this is what we're doing, and that's why I'm doing this with you guys, because it'd be no fun if this was just me picking my picks. Like, what the hell? Who the hell gives a shit about what I do? UConn, Michigan State.
UConn has beaten too many good teams this season to think that, and I don't think any of those teams. I don't think Michigan State's on the level of some of the teams that UConn has beaten this season, such as Illinois, such as Florida, such as Kansas. I just don't think they have the talent level. I mean, they have Izzo, but I don't think their talent level in general. And I think they got exposed in the Big Ten tournament. So I would take UConn over Michigan State.
Andy,
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me UConn because I want a Big East Elite Eight. I want the committee to pay for what they did and realize that you got two elite teams that are going to make it all the way.
That would be
Yeah.
phenomenal. UConn, but I'm a little bit nervous. I don't think
Me
this
too.
UConn team is the UConn team we've had in the past couple of years, but
Same.
UConn.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind, I have UConn beating South Florida here, so that's why I'm saying UConn so easily, because that's my big upset is South Florida. So that's just from my perspective. I'm not talking about them playing Michigan State. I'm talking about they're going to beat Wesleyan.
No, yeah. What's really funny is I think for me it's like you look at this, and if UConn beats Furman and then either UCF or UCLA are 10-7, and then South Florida makes their way to the Sweet 16, whoever we play, St. John's or Duke on that side, or even Kansas, the amount of shit talk that's going to be had. Well, UConn just waltzed into the Elite Eight, didn't play anybody. I could just hear that now on a loop. All right, this is going to pain me, but who you guys got, St. John's or UConn? Final four.
St. John's. I think it's also, I think again, it's, and somebody said this over the weekend, Hurley Mania actually said this, it's a bad matchup for UConn, unfortunately. I think that front line presents so many problems, and you saw it on Saturday night. If Pitino's got them properly motivated, if Ejiofor, I think, is going to be the best player on the court between the two teams. I think UConn has to hit a lot of threes, and although they are familiar with the building, they're going to be playing the East Regional down at the Capital One Center. I just don't think. I think that they got worn down Saturday night. They would get worn down again in an East Regional final.
St. John's for all the reasons listed. Also, I'm about to hop out. I gotta get off my lunch break. Mark, I will text you screenshots of my West, South, and Midwest regionals. And I just want to say real quick, as you guys are probably about to go to the West, shout out to DePaul alum Rod Strickland making a tournament for the first time, but his LIU Sharks are being fed to the dogs. Arizona's going to 40-piece them, but congrats to Rod. Guys, it was fun being with you today.
Oh, Andy's the best, man.
The Sharks getting fed to the dogs.
Well, the Wildcats really, but anyway, give me St. John's to advance out of the East region.
Well, number one, fellas, how sick would this be for the Big East? Especially in a region that also has Duke and Tom Izzo and Bill Self. Like, in a year where the Big East, we think...
And Mick Cronin.
And Mick Cronin. Yeah, people forget.
Best coach in UCLA history.
In a year we think the Big East got played, with this whole narrative, to come out of this region with a Big East final to go to the Final Four would be such a beautiful FU to the committee. And can you imagine, like, the whole Big East just mob squad that we have coming together on this game? It would be phenomenal. Give me St. John's.
All right, guys, see you later. Mark, I'll text you my picks.
See you, brother.
There, dude. Yeah, I hate you guys, but I do. I can't agree. You can't disagree with the things that are said. But I will give you one thing to chew on, as I, in my own bracket, will pick UConn in this game because I'm a glutton for punishment. But as the group, you guys, it's 3-1, so we're picking St. John's here. The reason why I think UConn could potentially win this game, or will win this game if they do meet, is because, number one, if UConn plays Michigan State or South Florida, whomever, I would imagine that's going to be a difficult game, but I don't think it's going to be an as difficult game as what St. John's is going through against the number one overall seed in Duke. So if you think that St. John's is going to just like run, Duke out of the building, you're sorely mistaken. So that's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. And as we all know, whistles are going to play a huge factor in all of this. St. John's could get bounced in the first round because of their style of play, because they foul out guys. And Northern Iowa shoots 70% from three. I'm just saying, beware of all of the St. John's love, because the same thing happened last year, and they lost to our boy Calipari, and a game that they shouldn't have lost in that 10-2 matchup. So I do think UConn wins this game because it's a different whistle outside of the Big East. No matter if the teams play, it's likely going to be called differently. It's a Big East game, but
even
not
if
in
you get
the
a
sense,
Breeding or an O'Connell or
I don't think they'll do that. Maybe they do. Maybe they will. But I think in that game you get like an Ayers or you'll get like an ACC kind of love. I know it's going to be in DC. Guys like that who kind of let you play a little bit, but they're not going to let them maul each other. I don't think we're going to get a Matt Potter situation. But I'm just saying, I think one of the reasons why St. John's may not actually make it is because of their style of play. It's very similar to physical teams end up and they don't shoot well one game and they can't rely on going to the free throw line. Your boy Richard Pitino said it on the pre-show of the Big East tournament. The finals. He said, we know St. John's fouls you on every possession, and he said it with a smile on his face because it's the truth. But he also said it to kind of like give a jab to his dad, and that's fine. So I'm with you guys of all the reasons why, but I do think that there's a possibility that they aren't there, and that's why I think UConn capitalizes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the West and let's run through this. Now we only have 3, so we can have easy tiebreakers. I know Andy's going to give me his, but we're not going to look at his very much. Arizona, we got it. Villanova, Utah State.
Villanova.
I like Utah State. I'll tell you why, because they have a great backcourt.
I do too. I'm going Utah State.
As good as Lewis is, as good as Askew is, as good as Perkins has been, I think the two guys and I was just looking at Utah State this morning for my own edification, but they have a really good backcourt. They have a great coach in Calhoun. And of course, the Hodge not being there probably makes Villanova a little bit of a lesser team. So I'm taking Utah State.
I'm going Utah State for everything that Patrick just said. Plus, Frederick Cannon kind of messaged me and said, "Yeah, that's a really tough matchup for Villanova in terms of like just the way that Utah State plays and their coaching style. I just think they like to get up and down. Villanova's going to want to try to control pace of play and all that. Listen, Villanova still plays good defense. Their saving grace could be they hold Utah State to a certain number of threes made and they shoot the ball well. But I just don't think there's many weapons as a traditional Villanova team. I hope Villanova wins, but I got Utah State. This next one is for me. I got High Point, and I can tell you why in a few moments here. But I'm curious what your guys read on Wisconsin High Point.
I'm with you. I love this one. This is one of my 5-12s for sure.
I was taking Wisconsin because I think this is a better Wisconsin team than other Wisconsin teams have been. If you told me the Wisconsin team that lost to James Madison was playing High Point, I would take High Point in about 10 seconds. And High Point's well coached. They have not dropped off significantly, losing the Huskies. Their guy right now, I forgot his name at the top of my head. This is why we need Andy here, because Andy knows every name under the sun.
Wow.
But High Point has played really well. They are the type of 12 you would normally see a 5, but I like the way Wisconsin has played this season, which is why I would take Wisconsin.
Their head coach is Flynn Kaman.
Yes.
Yeah, one of Huss's assistants that stuck by there. Listen, this High Point team is good, and they are also big. This is not a typical, mid-major, whatever you want to call them. They got a bunch of guys who are 6'10", 6'7", 6'8", that all play. They have guys who can shoot, they can score. We have my guy, Yusef Singari, who is on that Steph Castle, Jalen Stewart, Jay Ross, and can't forget the last one, but he was on that kind of that Fab Five, that Fab Five team that won a national championship as freshman with that 23-24 team. He transferred out last year. He's having a decent year for them as well. Plays a little bit. That's not just a I love High Point in this one.
Another former Musketeer. You cannot run for the Musketeers in this tournament. Cam Fletcher averaging 13 points for High Point. Very nice athletic wing.
I love it. Okay, let's move to the next one, and that is Arkansas, Hawaii. I love Hawaii's story, but I don't think they have the firepower. I watched one of their games as I'm a degenerate at like 12 o'clock at night before I was trying to go to bed, and just wasn't impressed. I think they've gotten better since then. It was earlier in the year, but I don't think you can beat Arkansas with that team. I think this is like a walkthrough for the boys. I'm assuming that you guys feel the same way.
Yeah, they don't have the horses.
Yeah, I like the way Arkansas is playing.
Hogs. Darius Acuff is a beast.
Hogs all day.
Okay. BYU against the eventual winner of Texas NC State. I hate that you don't get to pick the Texas NC State game in these brackets, but that's life. If you were good, you wouldn't be in the first four, and if anyone cared, you'd be in the main draw, right? BYU or one of those two.
This is weird about this band is you would think on paper when they lose Saunders at BYU that they're going to drop off, but then the ball gets into the hands of the best player on BYU and probably a top 5 draft pick in AJ Disbanta. So you trade off, you lose what Richie Saunders gives you for BYU, but then you get the benefit of the ball being in Disbanta's hands more. So I think that Disbanta could win a game like this and maybe another game by himself. And I don't think Texas or NC State has the firepower to match up with Disbanta and what BYU is going to bring to the table.
Shout out to former 2-time Xavier coach Sean Miller, who I think isn't reading the room correctly or is being very cheeky when he says, I think the people in Cincinnati are excited to see me. They're excited to see you.
Or Dayton.
Or in Dayton, excuse me. They're excited to see you. I don't know if it's, for the reason you think. So it's going to be mayhem in Dayton, fellas, between Travis Steele being there, Sean Miller being there. My group chats are blowing up with tickets. Dayton's going to be a movie. But give me BYU all day.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dabonsa is a force of nature. I don't love his game in terms of he's going to be a great pro. He's going to be, what they need, what a next level team needs in terms of building a franchise around him. But as far as a college player, it's tough to watch a college player shoot as much as he does. And it's just a volume shooting display. And I don't love it. But hey, that's life. I don't have to root for BYU, but they're going to beat whoever they play in this round, most likely. I could see NC State, if they win, giving BYU some fits just because they are a little physical and they can shoot it when they're on, but they're so kind of all, off the reservation. They, lose 7 of 10, then they beat, a decent team. It's just, you don't know what to think with Texas or NC State. Maybe neither of them should be in. So whatever. I think BYU wins the game. Gonzaga, Kennesaw State. I mean, Gonzaga's gonna win this game, right, guys?
How do you make any case for Kennesaw State here?
You can. The game's in Portland, so
that also, and it's at 10 o'clock. So
yeah, there's no case to be had. That's a wipe.
Miami, Mizzou.
You know how badly I want to pick Miami from, not just this Miami. Give me Miami.
Yeah, I think Miami has played better this season than Missouri has played. I think it's a credit to Dennis Gates that he was so bad last season and he's come back and made the tournament. But again, Jai Lucas had almost nothing to work with, coming into a really bad season and has really improved things at Miami. So I think Miami is slightly better than Missouri. So I'm going with the Hurricanes.
I'm with you. By the way, Jai Lucas's dad, John Lucas,
heard of him?
You've heard of him? Yes. Great coach. Do you know that, and I'm looking it up right now, that John Lucas, even though he was an incredible basketball player, I believe he was a pretty good tennis player as well. It was in my world. He played it in a couple of he won back-to-back ACC singles titles in 1974 and 76.
Playing a little racket. I like it.
So yeah, John Lucas, athlete, us tennis players. You know what I'm saying? So holler at your boy.
That's how I think about you.
That's exactly how I think about myself. Purdue and Queens. Purdue.
Has Queens danced before?
No.
First time.
Well, okay. Queens hasn't even been D1 very long either.
Yeah.
So I think they just qualified a couple of years ago. Shout out to Grant Leonard, by the way, who is going to be a coaching star the next place he goes to. I think this Purdue team. This Purdue team looked like a wagon during the Big Ten tournament. I think they've woken up, and we'll see we'll see where they go after this game against Queens.
Okay, let's go back.
Yeah, pretty cool matchup. I also missed a couple things I wanted to point out. So one of my favorite things is naming conventions in NCAA tournament. We have Arizona playing Long Island in the Iced Tea Bowl. Long Island Iced Tea. Okay, we got Long Island Arizona tea, and then NC State and Texas is what I'm being called as the FBI Bowl between Will Wade and Sean.
Ooh.
Yep.
Should we call that? Could we call that? Wasn't there multiple FBI shows on TV now?
NCIS.
Yeah.
NCIS Dayton.
NCIS.
NCIS Dayton or Special Forces.
I like it. I like it.
I love it. Marshalls with Casey Dutton. No, I'm kidding. This is not a CBS promo, I promise you. We're not getting paid by
There'll be
Paramount
loads
Plus.
of those during the tournament.
But it very well could be.
Good show, by the way. Watched a couple episodes. Arizona, Utah State. I think Arizona wins going away.
Yeah.
High Point, Arkansas. This is a tough one, man. I think Arkansas wins, but I could see High Point hanging around for a while. If you have Wisconsin, I can see the same thing happening there. I like Arkansas no matter what.
Yeah, give me the Hogs. Hard to make a case here, but I can see it being a good game.
Yeah, Calipari's won too many NCAA games, and he's got a star. He's got a legitimate star this year, which he didn't have a legitimate star last year, and still made the Sweet 16. So he should at least be
Pig Suey.
So he should be able to
Sweet
replicate
16.
that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think he's got these guys playing like a team too, which is a difficult thing to do. And listen, I give credit to Cal. He knows how to put together some really talented players to play like a team. BYU Gonzaga. Ooh,
this one's awesome.
A game changing of the guard game between BYU, who is one of the new powers of the West, and Gonzaga, who's been one of the old powers of the West. And coach, what's his name? Kevin Young against Mark Few. Kevin Young wants to be what Mark Few is now, even though he's in a big conference in the Big 12, but he wants to be the best of the West. And it's again, this is a question of disbanda against, you could probably put the second, third, and fourth best teams between the two of them. They're going to be in Gonzaga uniforms. And BYU fans travel, by the way. So I don't think Gonzaga is going to have the home court in Portland against a team like Kennesaw that they were having against BYU. So I'm going to take the Cougars in this game.
Yeah, this is an awesome game. One of the second round games looking most forward to. I think this has a chance to be one of those like superstar takes over the tournament kind of deals. Give me BYU and Devanza just because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. What are you thinking, Mark?
You guys are wrong, but you guys overtook me 2-1, so it doesn't really matter what I think. I do think Gonzaga's going to win that game. They have too many weapons. I think you can box the Bonsa in and essentially say, okay, everybody else, whether that's Robert Wright, whether that's what's the big, Kite, essentially say that. I think Gonzaga wins that game, and I will say this as an aside, I don't even think it's going to be a close game. I think Gonzaga wins that game by double digits. BYU has played okay lately, but they're not. They've kind of stayed where they are. Like, they they lost. I mean, no disrespect, and I know we shit on Cincinnati because of Cap for fun, but like they did lose to Cincinnati by double digits. I think it was like a 17-point game. So it's not like they're playing great basketball. And I know that they play in a tough conference.
They'll find a spot in this tournament where they miss Richie Saunders.
Oh, I think they miss him. I think they miss him since he left. I think the production has been added by Debonsa, by AJ, but I think the issue is when you add production from one player and you have basically one player accounting for two guys' production, everyone else kind of just stands around. Like there's not as much flow of action. The offense doesn't run as smoothly. They're like, what is he going to do? Versus kind of what are we going to do? I think that's my biggest issue with BYU.
Purely a vibes pick, if I'm being honest with you.
That's fine. No, it's fine. This is why we're doing it. Okay, let's move on. Miami, Purdue. I honestly, guys, I like this matchup for Miami because, and I'm going to tell you why. I think everything that Patrick said about them waking up and being a wagon in the Big Ten tournament is true. And I hate to be the guy who has the same thought as a guy like Mark Titus, but I will tell you that I do feel this way about Purdue. Miami is probably one of the more athletic teams that Purdue will face all year, and Purdue does not handle athletic teams well. And he made a comment that Purdue is like the suburban team that goes and plays in their first intercity tournament and is looking up at their dad like, hey, these guys are pressing us. What do we do? And I think Miami can be that type of team to them. And if Purdue wins this game, then I think Purdue has a really good chance to get to the Elite Eight and even the Final Four. But I just don't think that when they play a team as freewheeling as Miami is, and Miami team when they're hot is really good. And I think, and I said it on my show, and I was probably pissed about UConn game, during one of my live shows that Miami was trash. They are not trash. They're a very good team. I like Miami. What say you guys?
Pat, go ahead.
I think Purdue learned the lessons of that FU upset 3 years ago. And you got to I think Smith and Lawyer were both on that team. So I think this is something where they're going to they're not going to sleep on Miami. And say, hey, look, we're a 2, they're a 7. We're gonna, we're just gonna steamroll these guys. I think Matt Painter learned a lesson in that game, and I think that's why Purdue Miami's got to do something which is hard to do against Purdue, and that is turn them over. And again, when you've got arguably the best backcourt in the country playing for Purdue, I think that makes Miami's task that much more difficult in that game. So that's why I would take Purdue.
I want to pick Miami so bad.
Do it. Do it.
F it, chaos. We had
Let's
so
go.
much anti-chaos last year. We are in a
Let's
chaos
go.
debt, and it is time for the universe to pay a chaos debt. And
Chaos theory.
Yes, chaos theory. The most entertaining outcome is most likely. Give me Miami.
That's right.
Because I don't know if I can pick Miami later.
I actually want to see what Andy thought on his sheets of integrity.
Sheets. Great gas station.
All right. Arizona, Arkansas.
Oof.
Cats.
How far can I trust Arizona? That is the question. Obviously they've been top 5 all year. Arkansas has been hit and miss. Game is in where are they playing the West Regionals? Los Angeles?
I think so.
Okay, so they will have the crowd. Tommy Lloyd's got to do something sometime. So even though he's going up against Cal, give me Arizona because they've been more consistent more frequently. But this is a tough one because, again, Arkansas has got so much firepower. And historically, this has been the type of spot that has tripped up even better Arizona teams than the one that's in this tournament.
I don't know. I agree with you, Patrick, but I sometimes when it comes to history in these games, like I think we put too much stock in, what a team did a year ago when none of these guys were on the team. And I know Tommy Lloyd has kind of screwed the pooch here for them in terms of getting them past a Sweet 16. I don't think he's been in the Elite 8 yet. Maybe I'm wrong. And I've had guys on the Arizona guy, Subby, who did our show after Arizona beat UConn at UConn. Arizona has been my favorite team all year in terms of winning it all because they have everything you need. They have great guard play. They have great physicality. They can shoot the 3. They don't shoot the 3 a ton, but Braden Burries has kind of made them an elite team by being kind of that closer along with Jaden Bradley. And then you have Koa Pete and who's the lefty that goes crazy? It's like a bit massive rebounder. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Toby Awaka. They just have dudes, man, and they just come in waves. And how can you forget that Bryce James is on this team? He was celebrating like he won the whole freaking thing the other day. So
DJ Khaled.
Yeah, you got that. So I'm going Zona, and I don't even think I have to worry about that. That's gonna be a tough game against Arkansas because Arkansas is playing as good as anybody in the country. But I think Arizona has proven themselves. That buzzer beater against was it Iowa State and then beating Houston, they've proven themselves. They're a Big 12 champion, regular season and tournament. They've just been phenomenal. BYU Miami.
If it's BYU Miami, I'm taking Disbanda. That I just think again, this is sort of where sometimes a team that's not, if the bracket falls this way, this is when things just open up. I mean, same thing sort of happened with George Mason 20 years ago. Bracket opened up for them, and that helped them get to this Final Four as much as playing a phenomenal game against Connecticut. So,
dude, do you know that George Mason beat really good teams that year? What do you? I don't.
They beat Wichita, if I remember correctly.
They beat Michigan State, and they beat
Carolina.
They beat North Carolina and UConn. They beat 3.
Yeah, but I mean the bracket sort of opened up a little. This would be a dream scenario for BYU not having to face.
That's fine.
So I think if they got Miami, they would beat Miami.
What do you got, Cap?
I think BYU.
Okay, then we go Arizona in the finals, right?
Big time. Big time.
Yeah, Arizona would have too much for BYU not having Richie Saunders. This would be the time it would trip them up. Although I think if they got Purdue, that would be the time they would trip them up.
What do you got? Who would you rather do, the South or the Midwest? You guys, give me, throw it out.
Want to go South?
Okay. All right, Florida. We can just skip that ahead.
Easy day.
Clemson, Iowa.
Clemson.
I'll take Clemson as well. I think that they've got a more experienced coach. I think they know who they are. This is, of course, the first year under Ben McCallum. McCallum is, of course, a genius. But I think this is just
got Drake to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I mean, was it the Sweet 16 or the second? I don't know, whatever it was, but he got, he's a phenomenon. And I think that Iowa's going to be a force in the Big Ten going forward. I think this is just the type of year where Brad Bromwell, knowing who he is, finds a way to beat Iowa.
We have to pick Clemson because you guys did that too at first, but I'm going to say I abstain on that one. I'm picking Iowa. I just think Bennett Sturts is the best player on the floor in that game. And I go with if the guard on the other team that maybe is the upset, if it's 55-45, I'm going the other way just because I like Bennett Sturts and what he did at Drake in their tournament run last year. Vanderbilt, McNeese.
Vandy.
When
did McNeese drop the state?
I don't know. Maybe when Will Wade left, he took it with him.
He took a lot with him, didn't he?
He took state and went to NC State. So that's how it
went. The boombox guy, though. The boombox guy is still there.
He went with him at first. Do you know that, right? He went with him at first. The kid who was the Aura guy, he went with them. He went with NC State first, and then he went back to McNeese. The rare double transfer.
For Vandy, for my sake, can you I'm done with the kid. Nothing against him personally. It's like Sister Rose. It's not bigger than you, guy. All right, we're not here for Aura and a boombox. Vandy by a million.
Amir Khan.
We're over it, and it's nothing against the guy. He seems cool, but we're over it.
No, he's a cool cap. But guess what? Vandy's a better team, and I don't even think this McNeese team it's not nearly as good as the team they had last year. So let's be real about that. Nebraska, Troy.
Better, I think, though. I think last year, wasn't McNeese a 13 last year?
I don't think
they're 12.
So. I think they beat Clemson. They beat Clemson by 20. So, what do we think? Nebraska, Troy.
People forget, Mark, that Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game, and it's 2026, and they will have to go into 2027 without winning an NCAA tournament game. Troy Trojans.
Troy.
This is Sparta.
I like that energy, and I would go along with that. Any other point? Something tells me that Nebraska is going to find a way to hold the fort. Although, I can't trust Fred Hoiberg as far as I can throw him. But I think that, again, the gap between Nebraska and Troy talent-wise on the court is such that I think Nebraska somehow finds a way in this one. Plus, where's that game being played? St. Louis?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Shout out to our friends at Creighton, who are the biggest Troy fans that we know. That is one of their favorite stats, is that Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game. And Xavier did upset Nebraska back in the day in the 3-14 game. Shout out to
Oklahoma City. So it's still regionally, in terms of they will bring a lot of people to Oklahoma City because that's an old Big 8 city. If you go back in the day, so I think that Nebraska will have a crowd advantage in that game. I think there's a couple of small reasons why I like Nebraska, but I do think it will go late. I don't think they blow Troy out.
Okay.
Creighton would be celebrating hard. We also got an Amir Khan mention from Backyard Sports from McNeese State.
Yep. I haven't made my pick to kind of break the tie, have I?
What do we got? Come on, baby.
I got to go to Nebraska because of Kenny, because Kenny's brother-in-law. So
fair enough.
He's I think Kenny said something to me like, "Hey, if Nebraska's in the Final Four, can I bring my brother-in-law?" And I was like, "Of course." We'll see.
Casey and Creighton, I'm with you though.
Yeah, I'm listening. I don't care personally, but I think Nebraska's going to win the game because I think Nebraska is sneaky good, and they kind of tailed off at the end of the year. But there's just something about you get into March and nobody gives a shit that they haven't won a game. Like literally, dude, these kids don't know any history. Like right. I love Patrick and I that are old and like telling these stories of like, oh, back in the 90s when they used to pick, like these kids weren't born. And on top of it, they could give two shits. Like they don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care about the history of college basketball. They're getting paid and they're having fun and winning games. So
Nebraska ball.
Nebraska wins. North Carolina VCU. This one I'm interested in. I know who I want to. I know who I'm picking.
Again,
Give me the Commonwealth.
You know, I will bet you both like VCU. I don't like North Carolina. I sort of don't think, look, shout out to Dave White, who Dave White gave me a lot of grief about commenting that North Carolina is probably going to be overseeded. And if there's ever a spot for an overseeded team to slip up, it's this spot because, again, even when North Carolina was healthy, they were not really that consistent. Whereas VCU gets up for a game like this. They really love getting that opportunity to get to play one of those old ACC schools, those ACC powers that look down on them. And of course, you've got Phil Martelli Jr., who is probably poised to get a bigger job sometime in the future. The legacy Phil Martelli Jr. Maybe because of vibes, I take VCU in this game.
You can't get away from the Muskies. You can't get away from the Muskies in this tournament. They're everywhere.
I got VCU as well. And it's honestly, guys, everything you guys said is beautiful. They don't have Caleb Wilson. They don't have a guy that can score. Henry Vassar is a good player, but I don't think that's enough against this VCU team. I've seen VCU play quite a bit. Good squad, man. Really good, connected squad. Shout out former UConn Husky Ahmad Noel on the VCU squad. I don't know how much he's playing, but I don't care. I think they're going to win the game. Illinois Penn.
Illinois and the Fighting Scowls. Brad Underwood's Fighting Scowls get this one all day.
St. Mary's, Texas A&M.
Ooh.
I want A&M.
There you go. You got a classic St. Mary's system team. They have a way of doing things against Bucky McMillan, who is
Bucky ball, baby.
Great offense. Has he been around long enough? And
yes.
Does he have his system in place to pull a win like this against St. Mary's, who traditionally plays great defense? I'm going to take the team that plays better defense in St. Mary's.
I'm going Bucky ball. I saw it all in the SoCon for a few years there. I think that dude is a star in the making. We talk about Grant Leonard and some of these other guys that are going to be big time stars. I think Bucky McMillan is going to show why they hired him, and he's going to win that first game. And whoever they play, most likely Houston in the second round, he may give them a run for their money too. I'm assuming we all think Houston is going to beat Idaho.
Houston, we do not have any problems.
Okay.
Not in this game.
Houston, we do not have problems. All right, Florida, Clemson.
Florida. Too much. Too many weapons.
I don't like Clemson. I think the way Clemson competes against Duke makes you want to throw up. So I can't imagine them doing anything better against Florida. Vanderbilt, Nebraska.
Love Vanderbilt. Love buying.
I'm with Patrick.
Great guards.
Yep.
Congrats on your one NCAA tournament win in 1,000 years.
Yeah,
Nebraska.
Exactly. Sorry, Kenny's brother-in-law. I apologize. I'm going against you.
Sorry to you. You won't get your Final Four tickets.
All I can do is get you one win.
We're going anyway, so that's on them. VCU, Illinois. I think we've got to go Illinois,
got too many shooters. I mean, every time I've watched Illinois, I've hated the way they've played, but they've got too much I think they've got too much talent for VCU to overcome. Texas
A&M, Houston.
Oh, that's going to be a nasty game. They played a nasty one 2 years ago, by the way. Buzz Williams had them fired up, and it just became an ugly slog of a game that Houston managed to win in overtime. I'm going to say I don't think Texas A&M has the toughness to get past what Houston's going to bring to the table. So that's why I would pick Houston over Texas A&M.
Cappy?
I got 99 problems, and Houston's not one of them.
I'm not picking Texas A&M. I'm with you guys, but if I'm doing my own bracket, if I think Illinois is going to beat Houston, I will sometimes go Texas A&M over Houston in that type of game just to kind of get a little extra love. Because I can see that. I can see a scenario where Texas A&M wins against St. Mary's, takes that momentum and beats a Houston team who is good, and Kingston Flemings is awesome, and they play tough defense. I think Houston's a better team. So, yeah, I'm with you guys on that. All right, Florida Vanderbilt, a rematch of a game that they just got the shit kicked out of them by Vanderbilt. What do we think here, boys?
It's a banger.
It's a great game.
My heart wants to take Vandy. Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns, who loves the SEC, but I'm gonna take Florida.
I'm gonna take Vanderbilt, if only because I don't entirely trust this Florida team. And
Thank you.
I know that they've been playing their best basketball heading into the SEC tournament. But you're talking about a guard combination, Zavarian Lee and Boogsy Fland, who I don't trust that they can score points. And I think that they're going to get against Vanderbilt. If you can't score, Vanderbilt will. So that's why I would have Vanderbilt in a bit of an upset, because they also know Florida. That's something which Byington knows Florida. He's seen Florida the last 2 years. So there's no shock value. This is not like, all right, Big Bad Florida is walking into the Sweet 16 against a team that they're not familiar with. I think Vanderbilt's familiarity gives them enough to pull what would be considered to be an upset in the South Regional semis.
I'm with you, man. I think I'm with you, man, and I think we're gonna put in our bracket that Vandy's gonna win.
I love it.
Let's go.
I love Vandy. They're one of my favorite teams in college basketball. Their court by itself makes me love them.
Everything that Patrick said is, I'm not going to repeat it, but I just don't trust their guards. That's just the bottom line. And that's really when everyone was talking about there should be number 1 overall seed, when the whole UConn St. John's before that, Florida should get the 1 seed over them. Cool. We beat them, and we beat them because their guards aren't that good. And Xavier Lee actually had a great game against UConn, but it also tapered down. Like he had a streaky great 8 minutes, and that kind of helped them stay in the game. So, I'm not sold on Florida. I think they're big and really strong, but I also am I really want Todd Golden to lose early, because he's people give Dan Hurley all kinds of shit. Todd Golden's the biggest asshole of every coach in all of college basketball. I mean, the kind of shit he does on the sidelines, it makes Dan look like a church mouse. You know what I mean? Like kind of like grabbing his junk, like telling people to get off his dick, like all this different stuff he says to
the media
fans.
Loves Todd Golden though.
Oh, they do, because they don't. But the media doesn't doesn't put him to the fire the same way that they do Dan Hurley, and that's because he doesn't have that name. He's Todd Golden. He's not a Hurley. He's not the first family of college basketball, essentially, right? It's like the NFL. If you're a Manning, you get held to a higher standard. So it is what it is. But
you're telling me it's not tasteful to grab my junk?
You can, but it just depends on if you're given a sign to steal home in baseball, maybe. But that's cool.
I have a lot to learn.
You do, you so do. No, I just can't stand Todd Golden. And I've defended him as a coach, but not as he's gone on another. He's like, what did he say when they beat Kentucky? We didn't lose. We didn't trail this game at all. Any minute of this game, he just needs to be humbled. He needs to kind of go back to where was he at? St. Mary's, San Francisco.
Yep.
This is funny. Todd would never behave inappropriately with students. That's
never.
Yeah, there's so much dirt on him, and I just think if that's the case, you'd think he'd probably be a little less of an asshole. But I guess maybe you're just flaunting it at this point because you won a national championship. Anyway, if this is the scenario, see you later, Todd. Enjoy Cancun. We'll see you next year. Is Houston, Illinois, for a chance to play Vandy in the Elite Eight.
I don't trust Illinois as far as I can throw them.
I'm with you too.
I think they need to be shooting at a high level to beat really good teams, and I don't think Houston's going to allow them to shoot at a high level. So I'm going to take Houston in that game.
Cappy?
Retweet.
Yep, Houston. I'm with it. So Houston is going to the Final Four in our bracket. I love it. Actually, did we just skip over Houston Vanderbilt? I think we agree with that. I don't think we think Vanderbilt's beating them.
You know what? If you guys both take Houston, I will not make my defense of Vanderbilt, but I would love that matchup because I'd love to see Byington try to scheme around the intensity of Houston. But I think I don't know if he's got the firepower.
Do you know this game is being played too, right?
The game's being played in Houston. That's right.
That's correct.
That's another strike against the Commodores.
So even if they get Florida, that's
big
time.
Even if Florida wins, it's Houston's. It's basically
that's wild that a 2 seed gets that match. That's crazy,
dude. Why do you think every UConn fan in the world was like, "Oh, we're gonna be the 1 seed in Florida in the South, and then we're gonna have Houston on the 2, and we're gonna play them in Houston." That was the entire argument for like a month. I had to hear that bullshit. So
you miserable Northeasterners.
I swear, everything's a calamity.
Everything is. Everyone's.
I swear to God. Anyway, Houston. I agree with you that Vanderbilt's are going to be game for that, but I think Houston has too much. All right, last bracket, and then we'll get to our final 4 picks. Michigan, I don't think we have any issue there. Georgia St. Louis is a really interesting game. What do you think?
Robbie Avila. I think he loves the big stage. This is going to be his first NCAA tournament game. I think it's Schertz's first NCAA tournament game as well. I think that, I know St. Louis has bobbled things a little bit late in the season, but I think that they will rise to the moment and find a way to beat a Georgia team that's got some talent, and they've got a decent coach in Mike White. But I think that the moment and the vibes, give me the Billikens.
Well, fellas, the A-10's a multi-bid league, as it should be. Give me St. Louis over Georgia.
I'm telling you that I abstain on that one because I think Georgia wins. They got my guy Blue Cane, almost the coolest name outside of All Right in all of the land. And you got what's his name? Freaking Kanan Catchings having a good year. A lot of good talent on this team. They have Dominique Wilkins' son, Jake Wilkins. Come on, dog. Give me a freaking break. You don't think they're going to beat St. Louis, who barely, just squeaked by to get into the tournament this year? Dude, if St. Louis started this slide earlier in the year, they literally would have been out because they want to find reasons to get mid-major A-10, teams out of the tournament. So they did themselves no favors. I think this game is going to be a absolute trouble for everyone's favorite star coach shirts. And
Georgia almost lost to Xavier. Give me a break.
And Xavier almost beat everybody this year. Just so you know, almost beat everybody. They just didn't get any wins.
Roulette. You're not wrong. And St. Louis does have former Xavier Musketeer Trey Green. People forget.
Yep. People always forget.
Are there like 100 people who played at Xavier?
I'm telling you, this is who was at Xavier tournament.
Texas Tech, Akron.
And they don't have Toppin, which is probably gonna affect them later in the tournament. And John Grosh is a great coach at Akron. If I guess I haven't picked the 5-12, I don't think I've picked a 12 yet to beat a 5. So this might be a good spot for a team like Akron.
Zip them up, baby. Akron, zip them up. Let's go.
Yeah, you stole that from, but
zip them up.
Stole it from him. Hey, don't tease my episode tomorrow. We got Coach Raw from Seton Hall breaking down UConn Furman with me, along with another coach that coached against Furman that it will be unveiled at the time. That'll be tomorrow. But yeah, zip them up, Coach Raw. Alabama Hofstra. I'm not even going to fight you guys on that one because I don't care enough. Texas Tech is, although I do love Texas Tech and my guy Donovan Atwell, who transferred from my adopted hometown here of UNCG and is having a monster year. Alabama Hofstra.
Hofstra's sneaky good, but even with all the issues that Alabama apparently is going to have off the court, and they've had all year, and as much as I hate the fact that they had to pick up the G League guy this season, I think unfortunately, Hofstra does a lot of things that Alabama does better than them and does with more talent. So I think that's why Alabama finds a way to win this game, but it would not surprise me if they got forced to the last minute like they did last year against Robert Morris. So Alabama's not going to make it easy on themselves, but they will find a way because they just have too many weapons against Hofstra.
Yeah, give me Nate Oates in the fighting checkerboard suits for sure.
I hate that you guys are saying that, but I'm going to agree with you guys. I really wanted a 12-13 up here, but we're going Bama. Tennessee against either Miami of Ohio or SMU. Thoughts? Before you guys talk, I want to say something really quick. I think Rick Barnes is one of the most overrated coaches in college basketball.
Damn.
I think Rick Barnes can either take a team to the Elite Eight, he's never been to the Final Four, or they lose in the first round. So I think it's almost like one or the other with this guy. And I just don't love Tennessee's collection of talent. I just don't. I don't love how Nate Ament is a good player, but I just don't think that was the spot for him to go learn under Rick Barnes, who's not an offensive coach. And I think no matter who wins between Miami of Ohio and SMU, I'm going there. That's my thoughts.
I can really see that. Give me SMU over Miami of Ohio, as much as it pains me to say it. And let's go ahead and go SMU over Tennessee.
Patrick?
I don't like the two teams that are playing in that 11 versus 11 game. That's why I think Tennessee has an edge. But it would not surprise me if they slipped up and lost in the first round.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go with the slip up.
I hate to say it, I don't think Miami's that good, fellas. I don't.
I think Miami's on a Cinderella story. I don't think SMU's that good either. Have you watched SMU play?
They're not that good either. Miami doesn't have athletes, but I'll tell you what though, Dayton alone, I mean that home crowd and Miami.
Dude, that is going to be. Yes, if SMU can beat Ohio in Dayton,
I got a work thing that came up, so I will. I don't have that much to contribute. I'll just make a quick point. My winner in the South is going to be. I'm going to take Michigan in the South.
Okay.
So
cool. All right.
It was great, gentlemen. I'll check it. I'll check in later during the tournament.
I'll get the coin flip app booted up.
All right, Patrick. See you later, brother. Okay, and then there were two. Let's finish this up.
Let's do this thing.
Let's zip them up. Let's go quick. I think Virginia, Wright State. I think Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Virginia, but I mean, I just think Wright State's very good.
I think Virginia hasn't beaten anybody this year, and they lost to Butler early. Mm-hmm. I think they're way overseeded. I think they should be like a 5, but I do think Wright State is not that good. So, and watch, Wright State will win that game because we're both like, dude. Kentucky, this one is a fucking crazy one. Kentucky, Santa Clara. I mean, I know who I'm picking.
Who you got?
I'm going Santa Clara, dude.
Yeah, F it. Yeah, let's go for it. This is a year. This is definitely a year for Kentucky to lose.
This is 1000% because, and what I want from that is I want every shit-kicking Kentucky fan to look at that game and be so mad that they said things to UConn fans like, "Oh, we got Mark Pope, and you guys are stuck with Dan Hurley now." Yeah, bud, you're about to get beat by the Broncos in Santa Clara, and I think it might be one of those games where you look up and they're up 12. I think Santa Clara is a good team. Kentucky will take them lightly because that's who Kentucky is, and I just don't think Mark Pope's that good of a coach.
You're telling me that Santa Clara will have beaten 2 blue bloods this year in Xavier and Kentucky.
Yes. What is Xavier a blue blood in ice hockey, or which sport are you speaking of?
I didn't expect you to challenge me on that. As your friend, I'd appreciate a little bit of space on that question.
I love you. Dude? You just reminded me of. Have you ever? There's a Louis C.K. bit about how he hates Good Will Hunting's scene of how do you like apples?
Yeah,
he's like because what if the guy says, "No, I don't like apples."
Not particularly.
I mean, what do you mean? Like, dude, you like apples, right? Because I have it written down here that I'm supposed to tell you.
Yeah, I mean,
like the fucking scene is stupid.
It is a corny ass line. It is such a corny line.
Men's rifle. Your boy is the best. I won't lie to you.
We are very good at men's rifle.
I love that.
Elite men's rifle school.
We both agree Santa Clara wins this game. I think we agree that Iowa State is going to beat Tennessee State. Although that's a great story with Nolan Smith out of Duke, coaching his first year as a head coach, and they made the NCAA tournament. Shout out to him. Got to go. Oh, excuse me.
You wanted to dive into that matchup.
Wanted to really dive in the information button.
That's right.
All right, back up top, Michigan, St. Louis. I love this matchup, even though I think it'll be Georgia. But I think Michigan wins, no matter
Football
what.
matchup could be with Michigan, Georgia. This is a region though where I don't feel super confident in anybody. If I'm being completely real with you, but yeah, I'll take Michigan.
I think we're going to agree that Alabama is going to win that game.
No question.
Virginia against either Miami or SMU.
Meet Virginia.
Meet Virginia. I think we got to go Iowa State, right?
This one's spicy,
but chalky.
This one's spicy, but I'm feeling Iowa State.
Yeah, real chalky here.
Santa Clara's spicy though.
Santa Clara is spicy, but I think need to settle down on them winning that game. Michigan, Bama. Another football matchup.
I really want. Yes, it's out. I really want to take Alabama. What about you?
Oh, dude, I think Michigan's 1,000 times better than Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, let's go Michigan. I feel that's not a coin flip. I think let's go.
Yeah, I just think in that scenario, like, oof, bro.
Yeah.
If Bama wins, we can clip this and you can be like, "You're a moron." I was on it.
I would love
Virginia, Iowa State. I gotta go Iowa State. I don't think Virginia is that good. If they get this far, it's gonna be because of the matchups, and I think Iowa State's a much better team.
I agree.
All right, to complete our last Final Four bracket, Michigan, Iowa State.
You sound big on Michigan. I put Iowa State in my personal Final Four.
Do a coin flip right now because I think that could be a coin flip game. Do the coin flip.
Who we got?
Heads. I want heads for Michigan.
Heads for Michigan. It's heads.
That's how you know it's the truth.
Yes, sir.
All right. So our Final Four through Andy, through Patrick, yourself, and me is Arizona, Michigan,
and the coin,
and the one coin flip, St. John's, Houston. And we did have one celebrity Ryan Boatright pick with Ohio State and TCU. So
in Dusty we trusty.
That's right. Okay. I think for me, I'm going Houston, Arizona. That's my title game. But
I completely agree. Completely agree.
Okay.
Will we need the coin?
Give me the reasons why. I can give you reasons why both of these teams win this game. What is your reasoning for either of them before you give me your pick? One
word, dudes. Arizona's got
dudes.
More dudes.
Yep. Okay.
Arizona's got more dudes.
Yeah, I agree. I think Arizona. First off, I just think it's Arizona's time. I think every year, my fan base included, will talk shit about a fan base that says, well, you guys have never done this, you've never done that. I think eventually UConn fans should be a little more self-aware because there was a time where my boy Jim Calhoun was considered one of the best coaches to never make a Final Four. And he finally got his time and pulled off one of the biggest upsets, according to college basketball, in beating that Duke team in the championship, even though they were 1-2 all year. So I just think Arizona, who's been number 1 or 2 pretty much all year, is just kind of like the steadiest team going into this. Michigan's had a couple of little dips in their play. I don't really think you can say that about Arizona. I think Arizona has just been so good. Duke has had a couple of little injury stuff. Now, if everything stays the same and they don't get hurt, none of their main guys like Jaden Bradley or Braden Burries or Koa Pete, I think that's why they win. And I think Houston is going to be back again because that's what Kelvin Sampson does. I just don't think and talk about maybe it's his time. He's never won a national championship either. So maybe it goes his way, but I think you could flip a coin in this game. I think Arizona and Tommy Lloyd are going to be, think about this Final Four if we get it. It would be Rick Pitino versus Kelvin Sampson.
Yep.
And Tommy Lloyd against Dusty May. And it'd be Dusty May's second Final Four, who was there with FIU, which is incredible, Florida Atlantic. And I just think, man, when that happens, sometimes the guy who hasn't been there before, like what happened last year with Todd Golden, just wins it all.
Yeah, no question. No monkey on the back. I agree. I think these Houston teams are built to go deep in the tournament, but when it comes to a national championship game, I feel like they often don't have the offense. But I don't know. We'll see.
I have a question here. Would you like to answer that question?
UConn and St. Well, because the Giants got screwed.
Yeah. Basically, if you didn't kind of, we've been almost on for almost 2 hours, but like the thing about the Big East is they got absolutely jobbed in this bracket because let's face it, if what happens in our simulation here comes to fruition and you got UConn, St. John's in the Big East, in the Elite Eight in the East, it's just a big FU to the selection committee because if both of those teams are good enough to get the Elite Eight, they should have been on opposite sides. We should be getting that round 4 in the Final Four the way they did with Duke and Carolina that year. That's just when you have teams like that. I know Duke, and I know it's not even a comparable thing. Duke Carolina's rivalry is a million times bigger than a St. John's UConn rivalry.
Yeah.
These guys don't even admit that they're rivals. So, but my point is like the top two teams in that conference should have been opposite sides. I don't think, could we go back and look at this really quick before we wrap it up? Are there any other teams like that are in the same?
That's a good question.
Like I'm sure there are because there's so many
the
SEC
SEC
teams,
just has so many
Big
teams.
East teams.
Right.
So yeah, I guess if you go Florida, Vandy could play again in the Sweet 16. That's stupid. That shouldn't have been done. Like there's a few of these. You know, Michigan, Alabama, I got no problem with that. Michigan, Iowa State wouldn't be an issue because they're not in the same conference.
I think they avoided as much as they could, but especially with the Big East only getting 3 teams, it's 2 best teams who are. And again, I think St. John's should have been a protected seed. Them getting a 5 screwed them over too.
Yeah, but I can't even argue with their seed either. Like to go back to it because even with Andy's really great kind of acknowledgement of the differences between them and Purdue and some others, I just think for us like St. John's shot themselves in the foot. Like they have nobody to blame but themselves. Like they're playing amazing right now. Good for them. It's like one of those things where you can't go revisionist history and be like, well, we're kicking everyone's ass now, but we lost to Auburn and Stephen Pearl, which is a joke. And then you lost to Iowa State by 1. That was a tough game. Lost to
just
Kentucky.
Couldn't close in the non-con.
Dude, you lost to Kentucky in a neutral site. I mean, I said it to you pre-show. Like if they just beat Alabama in the Garden early in the year and one of those games against Auburn or Kentucky, they're probably at least a 4 seed, at least
one non-con. Just and those games all came down. They were so close too. So you're right. You're one close away. I thought that whooping UConn in the Big East championship was going to be enough.
It don't matter anymore. That's the sad part of it. And Patrick talked about it. It is dumb, but Patrick talked about it earlier about that too, about like how back in the day that was a thing. And I made another example of that about UConn getting it 2 after winning the tournament that people thought they were going to be like a 3 or a 4, and like they made that jump. I think what the media does a disservice to, especially the guys who call games, is they say stuff like UConn's still fighting for a number 1 seed. If UConn beat St. John's on Saturday, and even if it was like the opposite happened, they won by 20 points, they're not getting a 1 seed over Florida.
Yep, I agree.
There's not. Like it's just the way that this shit went down. There could have been Joe Lunardi might have had him there, but Joe Lunardi is never right.
No, he's terrible.
He's I think terrible. Someone said he's one out of all the bracketologists. He's like in the 150s of 175. So,
and this is what's backwards, Mark. And I mean to talk over you, but about the Big East tournament. The Big East tournament is such a big deal for the Big East teams. And it's a pride piece, and it's something that these coaches and teams expend so much energy on. And I wonder what your thoughts on this are. St. John's and UConn expended so much energy to win that game. And I wonder, is it worth it for the league? Because now you're going into the NCAA tournament after spending so much energy in a game that really doesn't have a lot of meaning. Because if St. John's had beaten UConn like that at what we call Store South, 2 weeks ago, this might have had a huge impact on their seed line.
Yeah, it's a great comment. I just think that sometimes I think you're gonna have teams like, unfortunately, like the way that bowl games are played now, like where guys sit out because it's like they don't mean anything. You may end up having certain situations like that. It's like, start talking about load management in college basketball. Like, it's like, why would I risk getting a guy like Matt Hodge injured if you're Villanova, or Silas, almost, I don't know if people thought he broke his ankle. Would it have been worth it? We weren't going to be anything but a 2 seed anyway. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so
exactly.
You're right. I think that's a conversation that these Big East, the people that actually get paid to talk about this shit, not like you and me, by these consultants and stuff like that.
I'm making dozens of dollars to do this.
You are, and I agree with you. But what I would say is the Big East absolutely needs to start making steps and talking to folks like you and I, who have a pulse of what's going on, I don't know, on the ground, and understand what these fan bases want and need, and stop talking to Deloitte and these big time consulting firms that charge them exorbitant amounts of money that they don't fucking, do anything for them. Mm-hmm. I just think it's just it's a frustrating thing, because if you're the basketball conference, you need to act like it. And I don't think the current leadership in the Big East does us any favors. But they were they were great to us from a media perspective. I'm not saying anything negative that way.
Yeah, they were great to us. I have a couple small takes. I will say this is a really, really big year for Pitino. Just for Pitino's overall vibe at St. John's. Everyone says, he got a boatload of money and all that stuff, and they're, drowning in money. It's his third year. You got bounced last year against Coach Cal. Narratively, obviously, it was at Kentucky. I think this is a big year for them in the tournament. It would suck for Pitino and St. John's and that fan base to lose in the second round again. I
totally agree, man. I also think it's kind of a big year. I mean, people, UConn fans will kill me for this, but I do think it's a kind of a big year for Dan, because if you sit here and tell me that after losing in the second round to Florida last year and basically saying we're coming back with a vengeance, telling everyone how good, and he is good, Silas was to pick up in the transfer portal, bringing guys in like Braylon Mullins, and you can't, if you don't get it at least to that second weekend, if they were to somehow lose in the second round to UCF or UCLA, it would be a real tough pill to swallow. But if you lose in the Sweet 16, it's not exactly what UConn fans are used to, but it's also not the worst situation in the world, coming off of 2 of the last 3 national championships. I think there's a lot of coaches that are in that boat. Like, there's a lot of pressure on John Shire. I give him a lot of shit because I've been born and bred to hate Duke, but I like him as a person. I saw some of his stuff with his questions that his daughter asked him. I thought that was like, that's the best way to break me down from a perspective of, do you hate a team? Yes. Show me something, him being sweet to his daughter at a press conference. And then I'm like, all right, I like John.
He's an industry plant, cool. Mark. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
No,
industry
cool.
Plant.
He's nice. He's a nice guy. And I just think it's one of those things where he's got a lot of pressure on him because everyone still talks about how great he is, but he still hasn't won a national championship, and they've had a lot of really good teams, and they had a major choke last year. So if they were to lose to St. John's in that Sweet 16, or even like to, a round of 32, let me tell you, man,
Duke's had a lot of early exits with really, really, really talented teams. Like,
think of the Zion team. They lost to Michigan State in the Elite Eight.
You're not that UCF game is one of my favorite games of all time, but you're not taking Jason Tatum to the Final Four. You're not taking Zion Williamson to the Final Four. Like, there's a lot of teams. They have not Kyrie Irving. There's a lot of teams that are not taken to the Final Four. It's pretty wild.
I'm giving Steve some love here. Steve's one of my guys. I don't think Luke Murray takes the Syracuse job, and unless they literally show him the amount of money that they're going to spend in NIL, I think that people need to understand something. If you don't have NIL commitment, it doesn't matter if you want to be a head coach. If you go to the shiny object, which is Syracuse, and the fact that they used to be good in basketball and they don't spend money, same thing with BC, then you're going to get fired. And it's a stain on your legacy and your record. And you're uprooting your family for it. So it's got to be he's got 3 kids.
What's Syracuse do from here?
I don't know, dude. But the point is like, they just need to, if they commit to paying the players what an ACC school should, maybe not Duke level. That's okay. They're in their own.
NIL's a mess.
Yeah, they don't pay anybody.
Oh man.
And because football's king. And so unfortunately, if you're not going to put money into NIL, then there's absolutely no reason why Kamani Young or Luke Murray are leaving UConn unless they get a commitment from a school that says, you know what, here's what we have for NIL. Are you cool with that? And if he goes, okay, I can live with that, fine. Maybe he wants to build his own program, but there's no way he goes unless he gets that commitment.
So is it similar to like UConn, for example? Obviously, they're different programs, but the Big East is the sun, and UConn was a plant. And you took the plant and you put it in the basement. It didn't have sunshine. It couldn't flourish. Does Syracuse need to do the same thing and come home?
No. Fuck no. No. They made their choice. Okay. And the thing that with UConn is we can have an honest conversation around that. UConn didn't ask to leave. There was no like, hey, we want to go to the American. Fuck you guys. The Big East basically forced them out. Okay. They wanted to go their own way and do the Big East, the basketball conference, and UConn was not going to give up football. So what does UConn do? They don't join a conference and they go independent, and that door was open. Unless Syracuse is going to start an independent football program, I don't see how they join, because what are you going to be in the ACC in football and Big East in basketball? That doesn't work.
It would be awesome for the league, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of things would be awesome for the league. We'd go back to playing football and having a Big East football. That was pretty fucking fun too, with West Virginia and wasn't South Florida in the Big East. Like, like all these teams are in the Big 12 now. We're in the Big East. So
shout out Pat White.
Yep, Pat White. Absolutely.
Shout out Steve Slayton and Pat White. Great teams. And then I will say one last piece. We got breaking news today that Thad Matta is no longer coming back.
Yeah. Yep. That's a solid job.
Yeah. My brother texted me a spicy text. He said, and this is obviously conjecture. He said, did Butler get word that Travis Steele was going to take the job and force Thad out?
I don't know.
I really doubt it.
I don't think so.
It would be spicy. But I honestly think that this is the right move for Butler. If I was a Butler fan, I'm just going to be completely honest. If I was a Butler fan and we're trotting Thad Matta out again, it just felt like Butler was in complete no man's land, and I just don't. It just seems like you're punting another season if you bring Thad back, with all due respect.
I agree. I don't think he was forced out either. I think he was. I think they really just had a honest conversation, like, "Hey man, like, do you want to continue?" And he probably was just like, "You know what? I think the seeds were a lot of these, this because of what we're doing on the side here. The coaches talk a lot together, and so you would imagine that." I remember like when Hurley visited and UConn played them, he kept on saying like Thad Matta is one of the best coaches to coach when it was college basketball.
True.
So, acknowledging the fact that he's probably had conversations with other coaches saying like, "Hey man, this is probably my last year." I don't think Dan goes out of his way to throw too many flowers with everybody, but the guys he respects, the older guys who've kind of been in it for a while, he definitely does that. And I just think that probably was talked about. Just
a strange late pivot. I mean, it was announced and reported by everybody that.
But I also think it was done because Jeff Goodman said he was coming back, so they were like, "Ha! Wait till you see what we have up in store."
I know we're both upset to see Jeff Goodman's report not be true.
To get scooped. No, I can't imagine. I can't imagine he's ever gotten anything wrong. I just don't. Number one, Syracuse is never coming back to the Big East. The only way that Syracuse will have any shot of playing Big East schools is if we have a merger of the ACC and the Big East. And that's something that I've talked about. A more well-known gentleman named Mike Krzyzewski has talked about.
Heard of him.
And yeah, he's pretty good.
Regarding Syracuse, though, I do think I look good in orange. I
mean, Tennessee orange. I got some Tennessee orange that I can wear. But
Tennessee orange is the best orange.
Tennessee orange is pretty dope. But all right, man. I appreciate you doing this.
So ready to do our crown brackets?
Fuck no.
The warm-up is over.
Dude, I'm going to get some food. I haven't eaten all day. Your boy's on a fast.
Let's go, Creighton.
Let's go, Creighton. Get out of here. Are they in the crown?
I believe so.
Oh, man. Speaking of retiring, can we just get the retirement thing from Mac? Dude, my guy. I know I'm not trying to start shit with Casey's guys, but like, can we just get them to just like not
no farewell tour? No, I know.
I just don't even get it. And I feel for Alan Huss, who's kind of just sitting there like, all right, man.
Okay.
What?
I'm ready. Let me off my leash, baby.
Yep, it's my time. And the Huss bus has to be unleashed.
That is right. Hey, it is going to be nothing but nonstop news here. And, man, great play-in games. I'm freaking pumped. And, this is it, baby. Let's go. Let's get some Big East W's. Let's get some units in the NCAA tournament.
Units. All right, man.
Units.
That's it for us. This is Big East Energy Bracket Breakdown. We'll see if we did okay. Peace.